Beyonce and Taylor Swift taught me so many business lessons that I am taking into 2025. Let's talk about it. By the way, I'm KJ Miller. I am a founder, lecturer, and content creator. I love talking about all things business and pop culture, particularly when those two things intertwine. If you like any of that, be sure to subscribe. Now let's get into it. So first of all, Happy New Year. We are officially in 2025. And one of the first things I thought about waking up this new year was Beyonce and Taylor Swift. Now, granted, I think about these two women all the time. Some might call it an obsession. And I'm okay with that if you want to call it an obsession. But the truth of the matter is, not only do I love their music and their artistry, I also feel like I have grown personally as a result of being a fan of these two women and watching their careers. And I feel like I have learned a lot. And so I'm going to share the top 5 lessons that I learned this year from these two incredible artists and how those lessons are informing my business and my pursuits in 2025. Okay, so lesson number 1 is one that I learned from both of these women, and that is to create the art that lights you up and let your audience find it. I would say this is something that I've seen Beyonce do now for years and years, but that I really feel like Taylor took into account even more this year. When it comes to Beyonce, particularly in her last several albums, I really feel like she has been led by what lights her up, what she's passionate about, how she's trying to innovate as an artist when it comes to different sounds, when it comes to different collaborations. And I think that's how you get masterpieces like Cowboy Carter. I don't think you get masterpieces like Cowboy Carter by worrying about what's going to hit on TikTok, what's going to hit on the radio, what are people going to be twerking to in the streets. Instead, she's thinking about what sounds are exciting to me, what haven't I seen? What stories do I want to tell? Historical stories, legendary stories, stories about my family, stories about this country. And then when it comes to Taylor, I feel like with Tortured Poets Department, she very much gave us a book of poetry that was just so intimate and so introspective. And we actually spoke about this on my most recent episode of my podcast. I don't feel like it was an album that was necessarily meant to draw a lot of new fans in. I feel like it was an album that she wrote because she truly needed to get it off her chest and get it off her desk. But it was something that meant so much to her. And she said the right people will find it and the right people will understand it. I think both women approached their albums this way and more broadly have been approaching their careers this way. And while I'm not saying when you put something out into the world, you shouldn't care about whether or not people accept it. Obviously, as I continue on in my creator career, I do want to create things that people will want to consume. At the same time, I think if that's at the very forefront of my mind, I'm going to miss the mark. And what I have seen, both in terms of the things that have really taken off on TikTok, the things that have taken off on YouTube, the things that have taken off in my business, Minted Cosmetics, it is when I am starting from a place of what lights me up, what am I passionate about, what do I really believe is missing, what do I really believe people aren't talking about, what's a spin on it that I can bring that's unique to me, not what is everyone else going to like. If I think about it from that perspective first, sometimes it'll hit, oftentimes it won't. So this is a lesson that I'm taking from both of these two women and very much going to be applying both to my creator career and to my business. And a specific example I will give is when it comes to product development for Minted Cosmetics, I think about the products that have just straight up flopped. And probably the biggest flop we ever had was I think I've maybe spoken about this on this channel before. We launched a liquid highlighter. This was many, many years ago. And we launched it not because it was something that I thought would be really great for our customers or something I sort of felt internally like, oh, our customers are really going to love this or need this, but because it was presented to me by one of our manufacturers as this new innovation, because at the time it wasn't just a liquid, it was like almost a gel, almost like a jelly sort of thing. Anyway, this new innovation, and no one else really on the market had anything quite like it. And I was so excited because we're going to launch this new innovative thing no one else is doing. Honey, when I tell you it flopped hard. And it was such a good lesson for me because when I look at the products that have done really well for us, things like our foundation stick, our lip glosses, our eyeshadow pencils, all of these products came from what I believed and knew in my heart our customers needed and wanted and would resonate with, right? Like I really let myself be guided by my intuition, by my passion, and also by what I just genuinely knew about our customer base because I've done plenty of surveys and I've met them and I've done focus groups and all of these things. So it's just a good reminder when I think about how successful both Beyonce and Taylor have been when they have really let themselves be led by what lights me up as opposed to what do I think like commercially is going to be successful. All right, lesson number 2, this one comes from Taylor, and that is to do things in your own time on your timeline. And of course, I'm talking about the fact that we all spent all year pressuring this woman to give us Reputation Taylor's version, and she did not do it, okay? And I know, even though a lot of us were disappointed by that and we kept thinking, oh, this is going to be it. It's going to happen in London. Oh, okay. No, it's going to happen on the final leg of the US tour. Okay. No, it's going to happen on the final night of the entire tour. No, it's going to happen on a birthday. No, it's going to. She said, you know what? It's not going to happen any of those days. It's going to happen when I'm good and ready. And I feel like that is a really important lesson and an example for me. If I apply this to my creator career, I have had a number of videos sort of pop off, particularly over on TikTok. And there's always someone in the comments saying, make it a series, make it a series. And I almost never make it a series. Or if maybe I'll do like one follow up because I have another idea to do something similar, but I have almost no series on my channel. And the reason why is because I've realized like I've got to make the content that feels relevant to me to make and interesting to me to make when it feels relevant and interesting. And I can't just be tied into or bogged down by, oh, someone said to make this a series, so every week I'm going to get up and do another version of this video. And look, I've seen that work for a lot of people. I think it can be a winning strategy for a lot of people. Once you see something that's hit, keep doing that thing over and over, make it into a series that people can rely on. And I'm not saying I'll never do it. I'm just saying I realized this year, most of the time, that wasn't interesting to me. And I don't think I would have been able to thrive and grow my channels if I had been so tied into, oh, the people are saying this is what they want. They want more of this. Let me just do that. I don't think I would have been able to thrive in that environment. So I was happy to get a lesson on that from Taylor Swift herself when she made it very clear, I'm going to do what I want to do when I want to do it. And on a timeline that makes sense for me. Even though you guys are clamoring and asking for all of this to happen when you want it, what matters to me is that I do it on a timeline that makes sense for me. Lesson number 3 is coming from Queen B, and that is the importance of rest. I saw a creator talking about this on TikTok, how he didn't really know if we would have gotten as phenomenal of a Christmas Day Cowboy Carter performance from Beyonce that we had if she had not taken time off to rest. And you know what? I agree. And it's not because I think Beyonce can't do the workhorse thing. We've seen her do that. We've seen her do back-to-back tours. We've seen her release an album almost every year early in her career. We've seen her do it, but I think sometimes you are better off when you can rest. And also she's now a mom of 3, and like wants to be there for them. Her oldest daughter is clearly starting to make waves when it comes to acting and dancing. She's trying to show up for her. I love that, she ended Renaissance tour at the end of last summer, 2023, and then put out an album that she's clearly very proud of, but didn't feel the need to show up everywhere marketing it, didn't feel the need to immediately embark on another tour, didn't feel the need to really market it at all. She said, look, I'm going to rest. I put the music out. The music speaks for itself. And when I'm ready, I'm going to come and give you a flawless performance. And it was flawless. I think it was the performance of 2024. And I just love that she let herself do that. And I think for me, and I think about an example for me, I think about my podcast, I took several weeks off in between season 1 and season 2. I also redesigned it a little bit, came back with a new co-host, and came back really intentionally, and I think with a really stellar second season. And season 2 isn't over yet. I don't want you to get nervous. But I felt nervous about taking that break because I felt like, oh, am I going to lose momentum? But I don't think I did. I think the podcast came back even stronger, and I came back with more intentionality behind like what I wanted it to be. And so even though I was nervous about taking that break, I do think it was the right thing. And I love that Beyonce is continuing to show all of us the importance of rest and what you can do and how you can come back better when you give yourself that time off. Lesson number 4 is coming from Taylor, and that is just keep writing. Now, one thing that most of you probably don't know about me is that I am currently working on a book proposal, and I have a goal of finishing my book proposal by my birthday, which is June. And I am a bit terrified because writing is very hard and scary. But I feel like one thing I have learned from Taylor is you got to just keep writing. You don't get to be as prolific as she is if you are not constantly sitting down and just writing, letting the words flow out of you. And this is something a lot of writers talk about, like just setting time aside every single day, like whether it's 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 60 minutes, and just writing. And like a lot of it will get thrown away. A lot of it won't work, but you will eventually get to a place where you like what's coming out, but you're never going to get there if you don't just write. And I feel like Taylor's prolificness, is that a word? When it comes to how many songs she has written, I mean, just the sheer number she delivered alone on Tortured Poets Department while on tour. This is clearly a woman who is always writing, and not all of it will be a masterpiece. Not all of it will be good, but you'll never get to the masterpiece if you don't just sit down and write. And so that is a lesson that I'm taking with me into 2025, because I do have a goal of sitting down every single day and writing, whether what comes out is good or bad. I know the only way I'm going to get to a finished proposal is if I get really serious about writing. So thank you, Taylor, for that lesson and that push, because I needed it. And then finally, lesson number 5 coming from Beyonce is that numbers aren't everything. And of course, I'm talking about the fact that she was named the greatest pop star of the 21st century, and she doesn't have the most record sales. She doesn't have the most chart topping number ones, or, whatever the stats are. And yet her legacy and her impact and her talent are undeniable. And I think whether or not you thought she should be number one, you can't deny how talented she is. You can't deny she's one of the greatest performers of all time. And I think the fact that she herself has made it very clear she's not worried about all the numbers it's very inspiring to me. Particularly when I think about my career as a creator. Here on YouTube in particular, I'm at 2,700 subscribers. That is very small, particularly relative to the 300 plus thousand I've got over on TikTok. However, I monetized this year. I was consistent. I posted 2 to 3 videos almost every single week starting in February. And not only did I go from, I think I started at 100 something followers to the 2,700 I'm at, but I monetized, which was my goal. I was trying to turn this into another income stream, and I did that. Whether I've got, tens of thousands of subscribers or not, I hit my goal, and I put out content I believe in, content that I think was fun, content that I think was educational. I connected with people here on the platform, in the comments. People found me, people hired me for paid speaking engagements because of what I posted here. People signed up for my course, paid for my course. I had people sign up for coaching with me. So this platform has done what I intended it to do, is continuing to do what I want it to do. And that is all without having tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of subscribers. So numbers aren't everything. And I appreciate Beyonce for continuing to remind me of that. That's definitely a lesson I'm going to take into 2025, because the reality is what I care about is putting out content I can believe in, creating a community that I believe in, showing up for people in a way that makes sense to me and for me. That's what I care about, no matter what the subscriber number is. And, creating another revenue stream for myself and my family. Those are the things that are important to me. I'm excited to say that I'm doing that. And no matter what the outward number says, or if someone says you're not number one, that's okay. It's okay if I'm not number one for you. I'm still doing what I want to be doing, and I'm excited to be doing it. So those are the 5 lessons I learned from the queens, Beyonce and Taylor Swift, in 2024 that I'll be taking into 2025. What other lessons did you learn from them? Let me know in the comments. And as always, if you like this sort of content, be sure to subscribe. I'll see you next time.